Hey guys, my name's Colin and this is my review of the HOKA SPEEDGOAT 5 after 100 kilometers. So right off the bat, I'll tell you that I actually ordered another pair of SPEEDGOAT 4s before they're gone, but I'll talk about that a little bit later when I get into the upper of the SPEEDGOAT 5. So let's start things off with the fit. So these fit true to size. I'm a size 10.5 in all my HOKA shoes, in all my other shoes basically, and these fit great. They do run a little bit narrow, as HOKAs are kind of known to do. And if I line it up here with the SPEEDGOAT 4, you know, they look very similar. However, the difference between the 4 and the 5s is that this upper in the SPEEDGOAT 5 is much more forgiving and pliable. It doesn't feel as constricted in the forefoot compared to the SPEEDGOAT 4. So the 5 does give your foot the ability to move around a little more comfortably instead of feeling constricted and locked in compared to the SPEEDGOAT 4s. I also did have some issues trying to figure out how to lace these up properly so I would get a good locked in fit in the heel. And even after 100K, I still really haven't figured that out yet. If I lock down the top of the laces here tightly, I do feel like I get a locked in fit in the heel, but then I don't like how that feels constricted on the top of my foot. Even though I've ran 100Ks in these already, I still haven't really figured out the proper fit for my foot specifically. So next up is the upper. So the upper of the SPEEDGOAT 5 has changed quite dramatically from the prior version. They say this is a jacquard mesh upper, but on foot it reminds me a lot of knit uppers that I've ran in previously. The older version had these synthetic kind of plasticky overlays along the midfoot here and just a more rigid type of material throughout the upper in general. Like I said, this jacquard mesh upper that feels more like a knit is very forgiving and definitely does not feel as restrictive as the prior version. They've really shortened the top of the tongue here. I didn't really notice that being a problem for me at all, and the tongue is definitely thin. There's almost no padding at all. It is a gusseted tongue. It's attached in here inside the sneaker. They also got rid of any pull tabs. They added this little heel counter. It also has a pretty good stout toe bumper here, and overall, I think the upper just looks super cool. So next up is the cushion. So HOKA's used a new EVA that's a little bit lighter than the SPEEDGOAT 4's version, but it does feel very similar. It feels like there's just a slight difference in the cushion compared to last year's version. To me, for some reason, it feels like it's going to be a little more resilient. Like it's not going to bottom out as quickly as the SPEEDGOAT 4. But overall, if you're familiar with the SPEEDGOAT 3 and SPEEDGOAT 4's cushion setup, which is like this really huge, cushy, comfortable stack, then you're going to love this cushion setup in the SPEEDGOAT 5. It's very similar. There's no rock plate as usual. It's just a huge stack of foam, so you get all the protection from that big stack. And next up is the traction. So they did change the traction a little bit from the prior version, but the prior version was the best traction that I've ever used on any trail shoe. They've switched up the lug pattern a bit and claimed that it's going to be improved, but I didn't notice any improvements because the other one was just the best that I've ever tried anyway. So this is just as good. It's going to be sticky. It's Vibram rubber. You have the 5mm lugs. It's just one of the best tractions on the trail running market, and I don't think it can be beat. Just like the prior iteration, this just handles every condition that you can put it in. So next up is the weight, and this actually lost an ounce compared to the prior version. So this is just over 10 ounces for a men's size 9. To be honest, I didn't notice a huge difference on foot. I never felt like the SPEEDGOAT 4 was that heavy anyway, but if you lose an ounce, that's definitely a bonus. And next up is the drop. So this is still a 4mm drop, 33mm stack in the heel, and a 29mm stack in the forefoot. So the final verdict of the HOKA SPEEDGOAT is, I really think most people are going to love the Speedgoat 5. The overall comfort in the upper and the midsole, I think, has improved compared to the Speedgoat 4. I could never find a pair of EVO Speedgoats here in Canada where I live, so I never got to run in that upper, and I never felt what that Matrix upper felt like. So I can only compare this new mesh upper to the prior mesh upper of the Speedgoat 4. And personally, I like the feeling of the Speedgoat 4's upper better because it feels more locked in, especially on technical downhill descents. That's my favorite type of running, and I always felt super locked in the Speedgoat 4. I just don't feel that in the Speedgoat 5. The mesh upper is so much more forgiving. I feel a little too much movement from side to side, and I can feel my toes moving up and down because this mesh is so pliable. In a sense, that does make this upper a lot more comfortable, but when it comes to a locked-in fit on technical terrain, I would prefer the Speedgoat 4 every time. So I was obviously extremely excited for the Speedgoat 5 because the Speedgoat 4 was my favorite trail shoe of all time. Anytime I was going to race or go into a big effort with my friends, I would always end up wearing the Speedgoat 4 because I could just trust it. I knew it was going to be a great cushion for long distances. I knew it was going to be great lockdown. The traction's incredible. The Speedgoat 5 has all of those things except for that locked in upper feel that I just can't figure out for my foot specifically. So I did end up ordering another pair of Speedgoat 4s before they're gone, but I also do think that that's just my foot specifically. The Speedgoat 5 overall, I think, is going to work great for most people, but I'm also very curious to see what other people think of the Speedgoat 5. If you've had the Speedgoat 5 and you've ran in it a lot, what do you think about the new upper? Are you in the same boat as me where you kind of prefer a more rigid upper of the Speedgoat 4, or are you a fan of the more comfortable, forgiving upper of the Speedgoat 5? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious. So that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching my review of the HOKA Speedgoat 5 after 100 kilometers, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.